Hey, welcome to the Game Changer Performance Podcast. Whether it's your first time, your second time, you've been with us for a little while. We're so glad that you are here and truly believe that this episode is going to inspire you and encourage you to be all that God's called you to be, to live out your game changer calling and purpose, and get the opportunity to sit down with a brother who's become a great friend of mine. And we connected this last year through the Hood to Coast race, through a mutual friend, Anthony Tolliver, and so grateful for that. And so I want to welcome my friend, Ben Kenyon, to Game Changer Performance. Ben, man, so glad that you're with us.
Josh, thank you for having me. I'm so glad we met during Hood to Coast. We had some good laughs. We had some great conversations.
Come on.
We had some great naps in the car.
Come on, man.
We had a whole lot out there. We had a whole lot going on out there. So I'm happy to be here.
Hey, for those who don't know, the Hood to Coast race, this was my first one. I believe this was your second Hood to Coast.
Yep.
And so this was we finished our team, which was 12 of us, a 200-mile relay race. And Anthony Tolliver got a group of us together. Some people we knew, some people we met for the first time. We go to Oregon, where this race takes place, and we finished just under 30 hours. We had 2 vans.
Big time.
And so like Ben was saying, there was sleeping, napping, running, and it's cool how those experiences, even though it was only a couple of days, I mean, when you go through the fire with people, you build relationship pretty quickly.
Choice. We had no choice. That's the fun part about Hood to Coast. Like, you got 6 people in this car that have to figure out how to support each other.
Man.
Right? And from the runner that's running to the runner that just finished running to the person that needs to rest to the person driving. There's so many different pieces to that whole teamwork. Piece that I just feel like we actually had a good time out there. It was awesome.
Oh, it was awesome. And I'll never forget, there was 2 different vans, and we were in a van together, and we spent almost the whole experience together. We roomed together. We're in a van together, and we're talking. I'm in the back, and I'm brand new to this. You're like a veteran. You're like, oh man, like, this is gonna be good. And several of us are like, man, what's about to happen? Like, are we gonna live, survive? And you're like, you know what? Like, there's gonna come a moment where we're gonna have to push through, and we're gonna have to decide, and we had no clue, but there was some of those moments, and your will is like, I don't know if I can keep going. I'm tired. I'm hurting, and to have you and just our team was such a great team of people encouraging each other and helping us all get to the finish line. It was an experience I'll never forget. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and if you've never done it, you got to do it. If you love camaraderie, you love connection. It's an amazing race that happens at the end of August out there in Oregon. Beautiful race running through the whole night. I think it's a 3-day, was it 2 to 3 day race?
Like a two and a half day race. Yep.
Yeah, man, it was beautiful. You run in the morning, you run in the afternoon, you run at night when it's just pitch black outside. It's a good moment.
Good moment. And if you're listening and not watching, you don't get to see Ben's amazing smile, because just his presence. I mean, I know that was one of the things that just attracts people to you. Spending time with you, got to hear your story, just found out, about a little bit about your journey, which I'm excited for people to hear what you're doing today, but also your vision and mission to impact 15 million lives. And so I'd love for people just to kind of start a little bit on the front end of your story. Currently, you're a strength and conditioning coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out Philly. And you've been doing that for 6 years?
So I've been with the Sixers now for 4 years, and then in the NBA overall for 11. I was with the Portland Trail Blazers before this for 7 years. And I've been blessed to work with some of the best athletes in the world. That impact that I want to be able to make with the 15 million. I do it now every day with the 15 to 17 guys I get to work with. And it's amazing. These are literally the best athletes in the world, from Joel Embiid to Tyrese Maxey to Tobias Harris. Even back in Portland when I got to work with CJ McCollum, Dame Lillard. It's just been a super awesome blessing to be able to actually take my purpose, the things that I love to do, and help, some of the best in the world continue to entertain, inspire, and impact, millions of people across the world as well.
Yep. And part of that journey to impacting so many people is the book you just wrote called Climb, and 14 proven steps for emerging leaders to grow and achieve. I love that title. And, you got Danny Green on here, 3-time NBA champion, 14-year NBA vet who did the forward for you. I know you sat down, talked to him and others about the book. And what I love is you're sharing real life experience and your journey of purpose. And now looking back, wanting to give the next generation what you wish you had. Mm-hmm. And your book starts out with kind of this idea of faith and belief and your journey and how I think it was in high school, you kind of had to start to decide, all right, what does life after basketball look like?
Yeah.
And so you start to go down this journey and talk about the early days. Cause I know, people see you where you are today and think, man, I want to be where he's at. I want to work with Joel Embiid. I want to work with Dame Lillard. Like I want to work with these guys. How do you get to that point? Because you didn't start out there.
No, man, that's a great question. So it was actually a little before high school. Right around I was 13 in 8th grade. I remember going to the Newark YMCA. I had a mentor coach that always asked me, like, what's your goal? What are we getting done today? Like, why are you here? And at that time, as a 13-year-old boy, I want to make it to the league, right? Yeah. But then I also thought, like, all right, we always need this backup plan. Like, if that doesn't work out, what else are you passionate about? And I actually love lifting. I was introduced to lifting weights very early in like 6th, 7th grade. And so I said, you know what? Let me figure out a way to coach and be around the best. And so if I can't play, I'll actually coach, and focus on that. And so I set the intention early, right? And so then eventually I went to high school and, played some awesome basketball at Blair Academy and, stayed focused on like, all right, I'm going to continue to chase this basketball thing because, I'm still young enough to pursue it, and I was blessed to play Division II basketball at Adelphi University. Yep. And right around my sophomore year at college, I was like, all right, I don't know if I want to do this professionally. So it might be that time to kind of look around and say, all right, what type of coaching do you want to do? Yep. And again, I still love being in the weight room. It helped me on the court. It was funny. My college teammates, they created an all league team for me. It was the all D block team, all strength team. Yeah. And I was first team because they knew how strong I was, right? They were like, hey, dude, you show up to practice, you show up to games, you could guard the 5 through the 1 because of how strong you are. And so I just, at that point, I was like, all right, it's strength. I love being in the weight room. And then I love being around basketball still. I don't necessarily want to coach the X's and O's of it. And in that moment, I said, oh, man, I set this intention a while ago.
Right.
I gave it to God a while ago. I just put my head down and just got to work.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's the moral of the story is just, set your intention, get locked in, have that belief system, whoever it is, if it's God, whatever, make sure that you're now handing it over and saying, I'm going to do my part.
Yep.
I'm going to make sure I show up every day. And again, we're not perfect. We may trip up sometimes. We may make the wrong decision. Right. This may have not been a part of my purpose, but eventually I would have found it. Why? Because I was seeking that. Right. And I set that intention. I just said, I know for a fact, this is something I'm extremely excited about. And it feels great every time I step into it. So I'm aligned. I just need to kind of continue to caress it and figure out exactly what it is. And again, the fun part is I'm a strength and conditioning coach, director of performance here with the Sixers. But there's more, right? There's more to your purpose. As you continue to grow and develop, you'll start to actually see the other areas that you can step into. So I think the 13 years old was when the intention was set. Right around my sophomore year of college, I kind of got a little more drilled down, a little more focused, a lot more clarity. And then I just tapped into the resources. I feel like relationships, the people around me knew my values. They knew what I stood for. My college coach, my high school coach, they went to bat for me to get that first grad assistantship at George Washington University.
Yeah.
And then eventually I went to University of Florida to work with Billy Donovan as an assistant or as an intern strength and conditioning coach, right? And then from there, I went back to GW for 4 or 5 years because I took over my head strength coach's job.
Yeah.
And then the funny part is that internship with Billy in University of Florida actually paid off because fast forward to the Portland Trailblazers calling me, he was the guy that helped me get the opportunity with the Portland Trailblazers, right? And so going back to core values, right? So chapter 2 in the book, chapter 1, I speak about belief system and having that as a foundational piece. Chapter 2, another foundational piece is core values. Make sure you wear those on your sleeve. People should see that every day. They should feel it and understand, like, if I put him anywhere, people are going to get this from him. And I can trust that, again, because you're now dealing with some high level people that are going to put their names on the line for you.
Right.
And again, you've got to make sure that you're showing up, the best way you possibly can. And so fast forward, end up working with the Blazers, and then eventually had this amazing opportunity with the Philadelphia 76ers. And I've been here ever since. And it's been a fun ride, going from that, that 13-year-old child that, had the focus of wanting to play in the NBA. But God said, hey, here's the avenue that I'm going to actually put you in. Here's your lane. And just keep showing up. And I promise you I'll be able to deliver all the things that I kind of gave to you. Just have to stay focused and stay dialed in.
So good, bro. Every time we talk, I learn more about you and see more connections. When I was in college, I loved being in the weight room. And the nickname that some of the guys started to give me in college was Diesel. And they said I look like Vin Diesel. But I love, I just love to work. Like, I love to lift. I love to work. And I think there's a mental side of that. Like, there's the grit, the tenacity, the competition. It's in your control. And so I love, and again, what I love is that transcends the weight room, that can affect and impact so many different areas of life. And even helping coach people to reach their potential and whatever they feel called to, which is also what you're doing right now. And so, you talk about those early years, and I know in your book, you talk about how, it wasn't all glitz and glamour and the rosy life. Like, talk about, like, even your first internship, and you talk about going back to your crib and just some of the sacrifices you made in the early years. Because again, people can say, man, this brother's with the 76ers in the NBA. Like, I want to get there. Anybody who's trying to pursue a vision, a dream, a calling, trying to make the climb, you got to start somewhere. Talk about that starting point for you.
Yeah, man. I started on the bottom of the mountain, sleeping on the floor. that was my internship moment, right? Back in Florida. I had this situation where it was a free internship pretty much. And I could do some personal training, but that really wasn't, paying the bills. So I, thank God for my mom and my pops. They were helping me pay the bills. But I slept on the floor. I didn't have a bed. I had an air mattress for like a week until that broke. And I couldn't afford a couch, couldn't afford a bed just yet. And so I knew I had to be there. Right. Because the opportunity was just so amazing. But even during that time, my pops, he was passing away. He knew he was going. So we had a lot of intimate, very close conversations that we never had before. And, one thing that he kept telling me over and over and over again was just like, dude, you are so blessed and you don't even know it.
Wow.
And, in those moments, I was just like, dude, get out of here, dude. I'm an intern sleeping on the floor and I'm broke. Like, I got friends that are doing it big, and social media started to become a thing at that point. So I'm seeing all the social media stuff being like, what am I doing?
Right.
Should I go home? And eventually he passes away within actually my first 2 to 3 months of being there.
Wow.
And that moment, I remember talking to my mom being like, should I go back to Jersey? Like, is this a sign? And, her number one thing was just like, dude, he wouldn't want you to quit. You packed your bags, you packed your Ford Explorer, your 98 Explorer, you packed everything in that thing and you drove it from Hillside, New Jersey to Gainesville, Florida, because you were in pursuit of, your goals, your dreams, your aspirations. He does not want you to quit. And then I got hit with another haymaker because my grandfather passed away a month later. you know. And again, she said the same thing, like, hey, that man worked his butt off to get, you know, the 40 acres that he has for us in North Carolina.
Right.
When he was blind, he went out of his way to help us get that as a foundational piece. Like, he's passing these things on to you guys, so you can't quit. And so again, I think it's understanding, like, your life is bigger, or the actions that you take right now, they're going to be seeds for bigger things, for bigger plays.
Yep.
So that's the way I thought about it early on. And then, like I told you before, you know, fast forward into when I got the opportunity to interview for the Blazers, the person that helped me get that job to kind of seal the deal was Billy Donovan, right? And so that sacrifice of sleeping on the floor,
right,
you know, making sure I showed up every day for, you know, I had men's basketball. I helped out with, my main teams were men's and women's tennis. I helped out a lot with basketball, but it was all in the same facility, right? So for them to be able to see me showing up every day, grinding, knowing that I was working for nothing, you know, meant everything to them. And so again, I think those are the moments that you have to hold on to, even when you do have the success. Because sometimes you can kind of slip a little bit and say, all right, let me get a little comfy. But I don't think it's comfort. I think it's just content. You know, be happy with where you are, because I'm extremely happy with where I am right now. But try not to get too comfortable, because the moment you get comfortable, you slip up a little bit. That's one thing about the climb, is that you have to take ownership and responsibility. And now working in the NBA, it is a high performing environment. Right. It is something that, you know, you've got to be on your P's and Q's. You've got to be locked in every day, because there's always something, especially being in a leadership role. You know, overseeing people, you've got to make sure to manage people the right way. You've got to make sure that you're training people the right way. You've got to stay up to date on all the different nuances of training. And so there's a lot that you have to stay on top of. But I think that resiliency gets built when you're that intern, when you're that, you know, that up and coming, that emerging leader, that hungry emerging leader. And you're going out of your way to educate yourself. You're going out of your way to put yourself in a position to be mentored, be poured into. Because at one point you're going to be in that position to pour into other people. And so it's just, you're waiting for your time to shine and your moment to step in, but you're still preparing. And again, sleeping on the floor was the moment that I had. Maybe not everybody has to go through that. Right. But if you do meet a little bit of controversy and times are tough, you know, be excited. You know, thank God for that, because now you're building that resiliency, that integrity that you know you need later on. Because I promise you, I tap back into that stuff as much as possible, being like, man, I did that. I know I can do this. You know, I got all the resources in the world now. You know, I just got to be able to focus and execute. So it's definitely, again, I don't want everybody to have to go through that. Right. But if you do, just hold on to it and make sure you never forget that part of the story.
Yeah, no, big time. And I think anytime there's a climb, there's challenges, there's obstacles. And so just to know, man, that's a part of the story, but the beliefs you have, the values you have, you break up the book into 3 parts: foundation, growth, and achievement. Building that foundation is essential to growth. As you're growing and experiencing success, man, achievement, what I see, it's about, you know, you talk about leadership. It's about giving back. It's about the impact that you're having beyond just personal success and personal growth. And so I love how you break the book up into those 3 different areas to help people understand, no, there's a process to this thing. And building the foundation, number 1, it requires going through some hard things and having faith. But then number 2, you talk about vision. And so as I think about vision, again, I think about more of where you are today, even though I know you got so much more vision, 15 million people that you're going after. But just to help people understand, I mean, what is it like being a strength and conditioning coach to Joel Embiid, to CJ, to Dame, I mean, these are like elite NBA players, and you get the opportunity to work with them one-on-one in group settings. Like, give us a picture, man, of what that looks like.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. It's super awesome working with Joel. But I've told so many people, working with Joel, it's special as a strength coach. That dude moves so well. It's impressive. I mean,
Yep.
it's beyond impressive. I mean, he's 7'2", 280, 285, but like moves in one-on-one drills like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. It's like, holy
Wow.
crap. Like, what do we have in front of us, right? This is special, right?
Hmm.
And so, um, I'll say this, like, you work really, really hard for these opportunities to be able to work with the best, but it's not about having it's not about doing all these different things. It's about keeping it simple, about
Yep.
remembering what got you there from a principle
Yep.
standpoint, from a practical standpoint.
Yep.
What were your principles? What's your philosophy as you train? I've stuck to my philosophy and I've kind of doubled down on it.
Okay.
And some days, people receive it and they love it. And then some days they're like, hey, man, I want to switch it up. Cool. We have a foundation to move from. So going
Yep.
back to those pillars that you talked about, foundation, growth, and achievement, that's kind of how I manage, strength and conditioning.
Okay.
Right. We focus on mobilization or activation,
Yep.
and then eventually we integrate. Right. So we mobilize, activate, integrate.
Okay. Yep.
Simple. Right.
Yep.
Mobilize, activate, integrate. You can
Yep.
plug that in with anybody. Right. When I was working with AT,
Yep.
it's the same thing. You mobilize, you activate, you integrate.
Yep.
And the fun part is, I'll say the difference maker outside of IQ, their IQ is just like, it's elite. It is the best in the world. They are the 1% when it comes to that. When it comes to basketball, when it comes to just life, they just do things at the drop of a dime.
Hmm.
It's incredible to watch. But physically, they are so gifted. It may take you and I, one or two sets to really nail a certain lift, a certain movement. I mean, for them, it's like one or two reps, right? They may, be out of whack in a single leg, bound to a row or something like that, we be throwing at them at that point in time. But for them, dude, it's so fast. It's so efficient. Going from thinking about a Dame CJ Tyrese guard, 6'2" to 6'3"
Yep.
and saying like, man, they're a guard. They should be able to do this. And then transferring that to a 7'2" guy who can do it maybe as efficient or better. You're just like, holy moly, like what is happening right now? And so it's knowing what you have in front of you and making sure that you stick to your rhythm, your system, mobilize, activate, integrate, mobilize, activate, integrate,
Yep.
and then you adjust accordingly. When it comes to the integration, if a guy loves traditional, the trap bar deadlifts, front squat, back squat, if he loves that, cool. Give him a little variation as well. So he's doing 3-dimensional movement. So he's still in the basketball space. So he's doing something that actually allows him to have longevity, right?
Yep.
But if the foundational things for them are the traditional movements, cool. But stay focused on the autonomy as you continue to integrate. I think that's the toughest part sometimes when people are growing. They get to these spaces because everybody's had a different journey to get here. My journey is my journey, but I've met people that were a lot younger that had these opportunities and they try to reinvent the wheel. And I can see them like grinding their gears and they're trying to fit or make a system that doesn't make sense or is not repeatable.
Yep.
Right. Just because they have these special athletes in front of them. It's like, no, dude, provide something that you'll provide for that young, incredible athlete, that young elite athlete. Yep. But you just got to understand that this group of athletes, they're going to get it a little quicker. And so you're probably going to have to add to that foundation. Right. So the foundation might go straight up versus you picking and choosing all these different things every other day to kind of keep up with what they need. I think it goes back to you. You set the rhythm, you set the foundation, and then you grow from there.
Yeah. No, that's good, bro. I mean, obviously, Dame, CJ, Joel, like they're at the elite level, but even within the NBA, there's probably levels of where people are. What, like, I'm looking at those guys. Is it more God-given? Is it work ethic? Like, what is it that separates the good from the great? Like, what is it that really, is it a mindset that they show up with? Like, you don't even have to motivate them. I mean, they are self-motivated. You know what I'm saying? Like, other than like their physical side of things, like what is it that separates the good from the great at that level?
So God-given talent for sure.
Yeah.
We all have a God-given talent. There's just something that we can wake up and just do and not even think twice about. It's just like drinking water, taking a shower, brushing your teeth. Like it's just like that, right? But they do it at a speed, at a level that is obsessive. So, and I forget because I've been around this for so long. Like, you see it every day, so you're used to it. But then you go to like, you go to a college gym, a big time school. You go to just a high D1 school, and you're like, oh, they shot extra shots. They did 100 extra shots. And then you go back to the NBA, and you see the best of the best, and you're like, oh man, they shot 200 extra shots, but they had to make 5 at each spot to move on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they had to swish. They had to swish 3 shots in a row to move on. And the crazy part is you're looking and you're watching, you're like, man, this is the end of practice, maybe during the preseason. So it's like a 90-minute, 2-hour practice, a hard practice. Man, they just shot 100 shots and I think they missed 5. Like, and they did that every day. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's just like, again, it's keeping it simple, but they work so differently when they work. And I think that's the part. And another big separator is I've seen a few guys. Tyrese is like that here. Tobias Harris is like that too. They work out like they're rookies trying to get a deal. Like Tobias has been in the NBA for 13 years.
Right.
But it's still like boom, boom, boom. But like this is what I do. You know? And Maxey, he's on his way to getting that super max and he's in a great spot. But that dude, like you have to slow him down. And so maybe that is the big separator right there. It's just like they're there, they're doing it. But they're still going like they're trying to get drafted. Right. And that's the relentlessness that you need when you reach this level, not just as a player, but as somebody on staff, as a coach. Because like I said before, I don't know if I said it on air, it's just like, you've got to attack this thing, man. Because if you don't, it will attack you. Right. And being on top of a mountain peak, realizing like there's other people that want to be here. So it's a very highly competitive space. And being consistent in this space isn't easy. And so the only way I've seen consistency really shine through is you attacking your process. Right. Again, so going back to Climb, that's a rinse and repeat process, right? You can read that book pretty much in a day and get something brand new out of it every day. Right. And that's the whole goal. You continue to rinse and repeat and you figure out, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are. And then slowly over time, you're like, you know what? Going to one of the chapters in here, thinking about your support system. Maybe your support system is the weak area, right? Maybe you don't really tap into the people that are around you enough. Right. So maybe not this month, but next month you're going to focus on, how do I tap into family a little more? How do I tap into my inner circle? Who's in my inner circle, right? How do they align with my values right now in this season of my life? I think that's the piece that allows, again, going back to what you said before, how do they go so hard? It's because they're really focused on their values and the people around them are focused on their values. So they're allowing them to do all the things that they need to do to show up, which is making sure that the basketball is being handled correctly. Right. So if they have businesses off the court, they have nonprofits, that person or the people that they have, they're like, we got it. They got the chefs. They got all the support that they potentially need for this chapter. Why? Because they're going to maximize it. And again, that God-given talent, they're now putting themselves in a position to say, God, I appreciate everything that you've given me. I'm going to show you by maximizing it and continue to pour into people that are around me and the community outside of that as well. So again, I think a lot of them have their values aligned and then they just attack and they're relentless about their process.
I love that. As you're talking, I keep thinking of Anthony Tolliver. I mean, his energy, his tenacity, post basketball. And I mean, he is relentless on the phone, doing calls, deals, doesn't turn anybody down for a conversation. Like, I'm like, does this brother sleep? I mean, we're at Hood to Coast and he's up walking around, listening to a podcast and stuff. And I mean, I need more of his his energy, tenacity, and like you're saying, I mean, these guys have a next gear that they operate in, and for a lot of them, it's in multiple areas of life. But in the season of NBA basketball, they're harnessing it for that and trying to use it and leverage it for that purpose. And so I just keep thinking about him because I'm like, that brother is a machine in the way he attacks life in every single area. So I love that you wrote this book for the next generation leader. Yeah. And I'm thinking of young people right now in my mind who are maybe, in college right now, playing college basketball, college sports. They're just starting out. They get this book, Climb. What is your message to them, and where do you feel like they need to lock in this season? Is it in all three of these areas, building the foundation, growth, achievement? Is it in one of the areas? How would you encourage them to start this journey of putting together this game plan / roadmap for where they're going?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think step one is tapping into that belief system.
Yep.
Right. Get your foundation straight. That is the first brick to the foundation. For me, it's God. For you, it's God. Whatever it is that you believe in, solidify that. Right. And figure out that prayer life. What does it look like? Figure out what you're doing. What source is it that's going to continue to support you, that you're going to continue to pour in? Why? Because there's somebody out there helping you, when you're solo. When you're by yourself in the gym, when you're doing all the lifting and you're running on your own, and you're away from family and you don't have, the ability to connect with others. God is looking over you and he will guide you. But you have to continue to figure out how to stay connected and communicate. So that's step one. I would say, I love to tell people to marinate in things. I would go into the process and understand at the end of each chapter, there are action steps. Knock out each action step, right? Don't move on until you do the action step. Right. So read the chapter. It's not a long chapter. I made sure to keep them nice and tight, concise, and right to the point, so that you can get to those action steps. Because I believe it's all about action, right? It's one thing to be able to read a book. I love being able to read the really big books. I love it. But if I can't commit to the action, right? Like right now, if this can't help me right now in this instant, then I don't know what good it's going to do for me. So I would go chapter at a time and then execute. And then if you need to take your time and execute, action step one, take a week to do it. Take 2 weeks, take a month. Cool. But then when you get done with that, go to 2 to 3 and then move on to the next chapter. And I believe core values is a huge section. That's chapter 2. That might be, 1B if it's not 1A, right? Because looking up and saying, going back to the basketball player, basketball is important to me right now. Sweet. Let me look up. Let me see my inner circle. Do they believe that? Do they understand that? Because if they don't, they're not, or they're going to support. If they do, they're going to support me pouring into this value. They're going to help me pour into this value. So it allows you to vet your inner circle, the people that are around you, the things that you're doing, the steps that you're taking. And I think that's the most important piece, is understanding like your values, you can hold them close to your heart. And then you can look up and just say, all right, does this make sense? Stepping into this environment, is this going to be conducive for me to be efficient in the basketball space right now? Right. And now you get to kind of weigh your options against that, which I think is amazing. And then the rest of the book, I feel like it's all very important, but I'm going to skip to meditation, which is in the growth section. And that kind of leads to 2 parts or 3 parts. It's meditation. I talk about pausing, and then also pacing yourself. Those 3 chapters for me are vital, and I wish I knew a little, earlier, just how to actually do that. And I give you steps. I give you resources. Transcendental meditation is one of my favorite styles of meditation. There's 1,000 different ways you can meditate, but the research that it's proven or it's shown to me, and the ease of it, is something that allows me to really buy in. Because again, if you are an athlete, if you are a basketball player, especially in college, you've got a lot of work to do. You've got class, you've got practice, you've got extra practice, you've got a lot of things. You might have opportunities where the school might want you to speak at something. You've got to be that leader. And I think sometimes, people say I'm too busy to do all these things. So again, meditation, that chapter is huge. Pausing, that chapter, I show you how to actually be still, from active recovery to understanding journaling, gratitude journal. I teach you and I take you through those steps. And then the last section that I'll say you really need to tap into is pacing yourself, and understand that, the distractions are set up out there right now, the social media, your other friends, your other teammates, right? You might think that you deserve, more minutes or more time. Cool. Well, wait your turn, right? Pace yourself, slow down. You might be a freshman. It might not be your time to shine yet. This senior was a freshman at one point and he was waiting for his time or her time. Right. And so this is their moment. Learn from them, and then eventually, if you're that elite, you might end up getting in that position at one point during that season, but be ready to execute. Right. And so marinate in that moment, pace yourself and slow down a little bit. And so those are a few of the chapters that I think, again, belief system is chapter number 1, core values is chapter number 2, meditation, pacing yourself, pausing, like slowing down and kind of relishing in the moment, marinating in the moment. I think young people, they need to do that a little more. I wrote this book for my nieces and nephews. That they were the young folks that I really thought about at the beginning of the whole process. Wow. And they all have an entrepreneurial mindset, and they're attacking. And some things are hit, and I love it. But I'm like, hey, still, like, you're young, slow down. Don't get too ahead of yourself. Again, if the money's flowing in, cool, keep executing. Right. But there's no need to hit a brick wall just yet. Right. Make sure that you're taking your time and continue to set yourself up for success. There's things that you might be missing. Find those mentors, find those people, and understand that you do have to have that belief system, because attacking and building this wealth is cool and all, but if you don't have that foundation, you can fall flat on your face and not have a direction to go. If you don't have that belief system in place. So
good, bro. So good. Like, as you're talking, I'm thinking about people that I want to give this book to, even for Christmas. And so I can only imagine other people listening. If you're a parent, if you're a coach, if there's people you believe in and you want to see them go to the next level. But I love even everything you just talked about. It's not success driven, it's purpose driven. And so the foundation, I mean, you talk a lot about, again, the core values. Those are things that are integral to us pursuing our purpose, not just experiencing success, because there are the highs and lows and challenges and setbacks. But as long as we are grounded and founded in the right things, and we maintain the right pace and pause and rest and reflect and meditate and invite God into the situation, man, we can keep moving forward regardless of what life throws at us. And so I just think about that message. I think about this book. I got names going through my mind of people I want to get this book to. And so I know I'm going to be looking forward to that. I just got 2 more questions, man. We could spend a lot of time here, but I just got 2 more questions. Number 1, I've mentioned it a couple of times, but you've got this vision for 15 million individuals' lives you want to impact. And I remember you showing me the house and how this thing is structured and laid out. In that, how long did it take you to clarify that vision for this season of your life? And then you don't have to get into detail, with the way the house is built, but just big picture, how do you lay out that vision to make sure that you're able to execute and move forward with that vision?
You continue to tap into the people around you, man. I'm so thankful for 2 people, 2 sisters, Meg, and I'm blanking on one other girl's name, but they we met in Portland, and they actually helped out with their business. Shannon, excuse me, Megan Shannon. I connected with them in Portland. I was hosting an event, and they ended up coming to the event. And after the event, we spoke and we connected and we sat down and we got really clear on like, what's Ben Kenyon's mission, right? To help move the needle, to help, people level up across the world, to inspire people, to impact people. Love it. Then how are we getting it done, right? What are the tangible things that we can do? What do you want to do, BK? I want to write books. I want to deliver podcasts. I want to deliver workshops. I want to deliver, things that I know can reach the masses. Yep. I want to create things that fall under the blanket or in the bucket of performance, leadership, and inspiration.
Yep.
Right. And so as I continue to speak it out into the world and to say, hey, these are the things I feel like I want to do or on my heart, we kind of put it into the map and just said, all right, this is what it kind of looks like.
Yep.
And at that time, when I first wrote it out, it may have been called something completely different, but we knew the direction that I was going with it. Yep. Right. And so it may not show up in the world as what you expect it to show up as.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we know the mission. We know, know, the vehicles that we want to actually get in and to kind of drive that mission. And so that's how I put it together. Again, the people, though, getting really aligned with my values and leaning into it.
Yep.
In hosting those events, community means everything to me. And so they ended up coming to the event. It was actually a conversation that I put together with a guy that owns Water Avenue, a coffee shop that's out there in Portland. He did a great job. Water Avenue Coffee, shout outs to them. It's amazing coffee. I don't drink coffee anymore, but if you're in Portland, you got to go get Water Ave coffee. It is amazing. But they ended up coming. Never met him before, but they heard about the event. We ended up, having a great relationship, and they offered up, their expertise to me, and they helped me put that house together. And so now we're in the midst of it, of like executing, one block of it, and that was to have a book, and then from there build out all the things that come from it. Now we've got Climb Conversations, which is a podcast that comes from Climb. Then we've also got some coaching happening as well, some client coaching, which again that was on the list. It's just you've got to. You write down the vision, you set the intention, and then you get to work, right? And so, but you take your time, and I think that's the part for me that I've been able to embrace, as I continue to grow as a leader.
So good, bro, and I love what you said. People around you help speak into it and help pull it out of you. But I love how you're still training, doing strength and conditioning, performance coaching with the Sixers, but you're also building Climb and writing the book and podcast. And one of the things that I say is, there's our purpose, but under our purpose, we can play different positions, and there's 100%. Different roles and responsibilities. And so as a leader in an organization, as a motivational speaker, as a father, and so I love, our purpose isn't confined to one position, one role, but we can actually live in different spaces to pursue our purpose. And so I love that you're doing that. I just think of so many people who have a vision or dream for something. You don't have to quit everything you're doing. You can start attacking that vision one step at a time, one relationship at a time, and allow that to grow and build before you put all your eggs in that one basket.
And I want to double click into that. So it's funny. That's something that's always been pushed on me. Like, man, you got to fully step into it. You got to fully step into it. And yes, some people do. At one point, maybe you do. And I agree. But I've read enough books now, and I've learned a lot of lessons about how even Apple, I think, what is it? What's my guy? What's the main guy?
Steve Jobs.
Everybody. Steve Jobs. We got Steve Jobs. He was out there. Yes. But the guy that actually, I think it's Steve Wozniak, the guy that actually created the technology, he still had a job. He's still, I think he worked for Dell for years. And he put himself in a position to say, you know what, I love this product, I'm in. But I still feel I need this stability over here. And that was his style. Right. And again, Steve,
that's right.
Steve Jobs saw a lot of the glitz and the glam. He had a lot of shine on him because he was on the forefront. He was out there really attacking. But behind the scenes, you had this other person saying, you know what, I still want these benefits.
Right.
I still feel I need X, Y, and Z. So I think you got to go on your journey and understand what makes sense for you. Yep. And eventually, if this is something that you want to step into completely, sweet, do it. But set yourself up. And the last piece I'll say on this is allow where you are in this instance right now to actually help support that. I've been so blessed to have the Sixers back me and help me get this book out.
Yeah.
They literally hit me up and said, hey, man, we love what it's about.
Wow.
We want to support you. So we're going to give you some media access.
Wow.
We're going to make sure that, our guys are promoting it and doing all the different things. And so now to be able to have the Sixers as a platform to now support, especially in Philadelphia, is huge. Yeah. But it took me slowing down. It took me taking my time and really sitting there with the words and making sure that I crafted it the right way so that it was a good product, so that when it eventually came out, it was something that, the Sixers can be proud of and I can be proud of as well. So I just think it's understanding, the pace, slowing down, how to pause for a moment, because people are watching you. They're seeing you continue to take these steps, and there's supporters out there. There's big time supporters. You just have to allow them to catch up sometimes. And so just remember, like, people want to help. You just have to slow down sometimes to allow them to catch up. And then you can clearly, state your message or your goal, your vision. Yeah. And then from there, you allow, whatever to happen in that moment.
Wow. Come on, man. I'm glad you doubled down on that, because that's a good word right there. And not burning those bridges to where when you invite people into the conversation, they do want to help you and promote you and support you. You don't have to leave them to do something else. They actually might be a godsend to be a part of the process of helping promote what you're doing. So 100%. I love that. Hey, last question, I think. New Year's is right around the corner. Yeah. As a strength and conditioning coach, performance coach, any tips you would give people in the area of health and wellness? Because I know you also do community events around health and wellness and getting fit and good morning and inspiring people. Like any tips you would give people as they're thinking about their health and starting the new year off on a good foot?
Yeah, start attacking your goals today. Don't wait. What's today? I don't know what today's date is, but don't wait the 30
December 1st, man.
December 1st. Don't wait 30 days. We don't need to wait 30 days. Start right now if you haven't started already. Set the goals and intentions for next year. Josh and I have already set some goals and intentions. We're going to do a triathlon next year.
Come on.
A half Ironman. We're going to do it, right? Own that process. Figure out where you are. And then also get in community. I love to lift 3 to 4 days a week by myself. I'm now in a space where I don't even listen to music. I do it. It feels good. It's meditative. It's my space. But then there's like 2 days where I go do some cardio or some hot yoga, but I'll do that in community, right? I'll go take a class at Core Power. I'll go take a class at Barry's Boot Camp or F45. Right. I'll make sure to get around other people outside of, my 9 to 5 and what I do every day, because I'm around those guys a lot. But I figure out ways to continue to just connect, because it's one thing to set a goal, but it's another thing or another step to be around people that have similar goals. Because now you're going to have conversations about how they're attacking their goals. And you'll probably actually complete and sustain that lifestyle.
That's right.
Once it's set in place when you're around those people. So that's the sneaky part. That's the tricky part about being around those folks, being around those communities, is that you're actually running when you're at a Barry's Boot Camp and you're like, yo, I'm trying to, tighten up because summertime's coming. Cool. Me too. You got an accountability partner right there, And so I just think it's vital to start now, right? Get in community. And then understand, overall that like next year's goals, you may have 1,000 different ways to get to them. But if you can just make sure to just write them out, set that intention, and then put your head down to work, you'll be good to go.
I love that. Best time to pursue a goal right now. Start that process right now. And every time I'm with you, man, I'm inspired. I mean, just our short time today. We doing a 70.4, 70.2 triathlon.
70.3.
70.3. Let's go. We got that in the books for next year. I'm always inspired to want to be better, pursue big vision, big dream, but also to execute the things that are in my control to keep on taking steps forward and who God's called me to be. Man, we could talk all day. I could ask you a lot more questions, which I'm sure we'll do in the future. But bro, thank you for being a part. Thanks for your message. Climb 14 proven steps for emerging leaders to grow and achieve. Thanks for being willing one day to come to Omaha and share this message with a lot more people. Man, you're truly a good friend. If people wanted to follow you, what's the best place? Or they wanted to buy a book, where's the best place to go to find that?
Yeah, greatdaytoclimb.com is where you go to buy the book. So greatdaytoclimb.com. And then Ben Kenyon on Instagram or LinkedIn are the best two places to follow. I'm on there on Instagram, especially with the good morning and just bringing as much energy and trying to inspire and empower people on a daily basis. So Ben Kenyon on Instagram, LinkedIn, and then greatdaytoclimb.com for the book.
Come on, man. Well, thank you so much. One of the best encouragers, motivators, somebody who's always going to leave you feeling better, whether it's good morning, let's go, let's work, get to work. My man, thanks for spending time with us. Really appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, really appreciate you too, man. This has been awesome.
Hey, thanks to everybody for listening and just, man, I know I'm encouraged listening to BK and his story and just all the nuggets of information that he shared. Make sure you go buy a book, Climb, find it on Amazon. Go to the website that will have the link in the notes. And feel free to check out the message, the story, share it with other people. I know you'll be encouraged and it'll help you reach the potential that God has placed inside of you. So thanks so much and look forward to next time.